Welcome to Feeling Fridays here on the Libran Key. These are messages for the highest and the greatest good of the Empath Journey, the Empath Collective here on Mama Gaia, part of the Elsh Collective, of course, Empaths, Lightworkers, Starseeds, Healers, Awakened and Awakening Souls. Know that if this message has found you and or you have found it, that there is something here for you. That is always the intention that I put into these messages. If you are returning here, family, thank you for being here. Sending each and every one of you so much love. We're going to look at something here today that is an ongoing thing that we have kind of touched upon before. It's coming up a lot, though, in the collective right now, specifically for empaths. And I'm even going to include in here people who refer to themselves as HSPs or highly sensitive persons or people, okay? And it has to do around recognizing and not being afraid of the shadow. Our own, Mel Collins refers to this as like inner darkness, okay? And this idea, this indoctrinated idea that darkness equals evil, that darkness equals evil. So much of this has to do with religious programming. It's a very, very big topic that we could, you could write a thesis on this, right? Like it could be tomes of things about the examples that we have throughout history. Throughout consciousness here on Mama Gaia with regard to this, okay? The light and the dark, okay? And this idea of the light and the dark being on a spectrum, being something that we have access to within each and every one of us. Darkness not equating to evil, but darkness being a key to transmutation, to healing, and to awakening. And what they're giving me now, we are working here with the Venusian Galactic Council of Light. They're coming in for this. There is a lot of Christ consciousness energy in what they're bringing through here. Jesus Christ, those energies also coming through tremendously with this because he is, and his energy, the energy of Christ consciousness is the ultimate type of transmuter, is the ultimate type of energy transmutation, okay? When it comes to transmuting the shadow. So much of this is what they're saying to me has to do with consciousness. And it starts at the root because I asked them the question, why do empaths, why do highly sensitive people have this problem where it's like, and again, I'm using that word, I don't want to use that word as something that feels like it can't be changed or it's always an issue. Not at all. But why is this a challenge? I think is a better way to put it. Why is this so challenging to a lot of empaths to accept that there are emotions that they are going to experience in this life, in this incarnation, that are going to feel scary to them, that they're not going to want to go there? Feelings like guilt, feelings like shame, feelings like anger, right? And instead of looking at them and facing them and going into that and really like diving into those emotions and feeling them out and letting them pass through and releasing them and transmuting them, we just don't want to deal with it. We just don't want to go there, okay? Why? The first thing that they're giving me is that this all starts at the root. They actually showed me a natal chart in astrology, and they showed me the fourth house. The fourth house in astrology is our roots. It's our ancestors. What they specifically were bringing through was roots, ancestors, how we're raised, the home, and the dynamics of the home and the family. There is, and it's ruled by Cancer, right? So it's interesting because it's also connected to the mother. And there's an interesting correlation here, what they're showing me, to the way that we can have a wounded feminine energy It's the same, it's working on the same spectrum as this fear around going into that inner darkness. That's one thing. The second thing is all the indoctrination and programming that goes into the family and then gets passed down generation to generation to generation. Okay? And it's really interesting because they keep on emphasizing the mother here. And what they mean by that is they're actually showing me a human being, a baby in utero, housed in the body of the mother. And what the mother, and how literally that being is made from the body of the mother. And it's like through osmosis, in a way, through this transference of energy, like a sponge, right? We absorb all of these things almost subconsciously, like we're not even realizing we're doing it. And this is why awareness is such a big deal. And this is why consciousness is such a big deal when it comes to this, okay? So for some of us, that may be a specific message with regard to the mother, right? For some of us, not for all of us. Some of us have had mothers that have been incredibly nurturing and open and supportive, right? But they themselves have had to deal with their own motherline, ancestral energies, shadows that they've had to transmute. And by way of that, we are all connected to that. We're all connected to that in our mother, is what they're showing me. And they're not saying this to, in any way, make it all about the mother, like it's the mother's fault. That is not what they are bringing through here. What they're bringing through here is the awareness of this idea of it being in the body. It's incredibly important to be informed in this way, going even deeper through safe spaces, whether it's, there's a lot coming through with regard to this right now, with regard to healing those deeper blocks, is how they're showing it to me, when it comes to really facing this inner darkness, which again is not the same as evil, okay? They're kind of giving me the analogy here of darkness serving the light. Now that's a perspective. They're giving me to that as an analogy, okay? It's much more complicated than that in a more cosmic sense. However, for the sake of us understanding it here on Earth and in this third dimensional reality, the way it's set up in a very dualistic way, where we have these concepts of darkness and light, where we have, they're saying to me, the concept of opposites. It's very important that we kind of center ourselves around this notion of what the darkness truly is when we're looking at it from a higher level of consciousness, okay? I'm bringing in the energies here of Astrophyllite for this, okay? Because Astrophyllite, to me, is very much about harmonizing a few things. Harmonizing these oppositions, right? Integrating these oppositions, helping us to transmute the energies, helping us to take anger, to transmute that into maybe deeper understanding, which is the next thing that's connected to Astrophyllite, which is knowing ourselves, knowing who we are at a deeper level, okay? It's also very much a crystal that captures the light in its dark parts, okay? Now, I'm going to be asking through the Psychic Tarot, John Holland Psychic Tarot. Absolutely love this deck. It's been a while since I used it, so it's beautiful that it came through. And the Work Your Light Oracle, okay? So this is obviously something that is a very big topic, and we're just scratching a little bit of it right now, but there's something going on currently. Remember, these messages are always timely yet timeless. And this may have a lot to do with a lot of the clearing that is going on, the purging that is going on. And something I've also been noticing generally in the collective, both energetically, but also in some of the responses that I'm getting with regard to some of the things that I have posted connected to darkness not equating light, and people not getting it, people not having it. Now, they're saying again to me that this has to do with consciousness. This has to do with a degree of consciousness from a holistic point of view, of understanding what the true meaning of darkness means from a cosmic perspective, from a broader perspective, from a more, we could even say, psychological perspective when we're talking about the psyche and the unconscious. You could almost say that the psyche and the unconscious are the darkness. That doesn't mean that they are bad. It means that they are simply a facet of who we are, and a deeper understanding is required in order for us to evolve even further. It's nothing to be feared. If anything, it is probably some of the greatest source energy, we could say, and I don't mean necessarily, but everything is source, so you could argue that it is that, but it's a source of energy. It's one of the greatest sources of energy that we have for our own expansion of consciousness and our own expansion of self. And there's a lot of, we know this, but there's a lot of spiritual bypassing that happens throughout the community, right? And a lot of this is because of this religious indoctrination and the fears that have been set up around what it means to be what the darkness is, okay? The darkness is not synonymous with evil. For some people, what they're showing me, though, is it totally is, and they don't see beyond that. But they're giving me an image here of a horse with blinders on. So they're only seeing it from one perspective. And as empaths and human beings, whether we realize it or not, we are multidimensional. We are not one-dimensional. Okay, I'm going to start asking first through the Working Light Oracle. Take a break, a life's work, not a season. Get off the treadmill. Okay, they're showing me someone literally running away from the shadow with this card. Yeah, that's a lot of what this energy is like. It's like, boop, we beeline. The moment we start thinking about anything like that, break the chain, ancestral patterns, healing, rewriting the future. And this is what we came to do. We came to break that chain. An awakened and awakening soul is going to be breaking the chain in some way. They're going to be questioning things. They're going to be questioning the narrative. They're also showing me that there's nothing wrong in that. There's nothing wrong in questioning anything. And there's more guilt and shame that can come up around that, especially in families, right? Where you feel bad about it as an empath. You feel bad about questioning things. You don't want to rock the boat. You don't want to do anything that's going to hurt anybody. But at what expense are you doing it? Are you doing it at the expense of truth? Are you doing it at the expense of consciousness? Are you enabling it? Right? These are the things we need to look at. And the shadows of these things are what bring awareness to it, okay? The crumbling. What are you clinging to? Are you clinging to old programming around this? Are you clinging to indoctrination around this? Are you clinging to old spiritual ways about this, 3D matrixy ways about this? And then we've got, you're already doing it. Stop overthinking. Keep facing your true north. So what this is telling me is that we are already getting nudges around this. We're already understanding this at a deeper level. We're getting it in a cerebral way, but are we actually truly understanding it at a deeper level? But they're showing me that that's a good thing. They're showing me that even getting it, it's that cognitive dissonance, right? Where we start to make those changes. Even getting it at a cerebral level is a start. It comes back to awareness. It comes back to awareness. But we need to do the work after that. We need to do the work energetically after that to get into that space. And it can take a while. They're showing me it can take a while. They're showing specifically, like, they're giving me the number 6, which is a number that they're associated with. But like, they're showing me 6 months, sometimes to work on one thing, right? Intervals of 6 is what they're showing me. That's really interesting. 6 being the number of, again, harmonizing, integrating, bringing two opposites together and integrating. They're also showing me an energy here of mirroring, which is really Really interesting. And that's another example of opposite ends of the spectrum actually getting to a point where they mirror each other. Because it's within, just like in astrology, right, where we have the oppositions, what something else has, theoretically, the other side doesn't. It lacks. And when you're able to integrate these things, harmonize these things, what they're showing me is that what that actually means, the integration and the harmonizing, what that actually means is you are taking something for your highest and greatest good that's being offered to you by the other side. And that's where the illusion of division goes. I'll give you the analogy of the polarity of Aries and Libra really quickly. So Aries is always associated with the self. It's the statement of I am. Aries is the first sign of the zodiac. It is the embodiment of the self, okay? And Aries will see things first and foremost from their own perspective. That is what Aries represents. Libra, being the seventh sign of the zodiac and in opposition to Aries, is the sign of I relate. It's the sign of relationships. It's the sign of understanding things through another person, through another perspective, seeing the other. It's very much about the other and not about the self. But in that spectrum, one takes from the other to create a balance. Because in taking more self-awareness on, Libra grows, and in taking more awareness of others, Aries grows. And that's a really simple way to put it, but it's one tiny example of many, for the sake of this analogy, when it comes to this integration, when it comes to this harmonization, when it comes to balance again, or the middle way, right? For lack of a better way of putting it. Yeah. Four of Wands, this is four of energy, four of fire, foundation and achievement. So yeah, they're reiterating here the fourth house. This foundation of energy, where does it come from? This is an energetic thing that we can take on very much without even realizing it, okay? Sacral chakra, this is going back to the mother again, the number 2, the number of relating and division again is what they're showing me. Of splitting something into two, okay? The sacral chakra is also pointing to our emotions and our emotional body around this. And as empaths, as highly sensitive people, we are really ramped up when it comes to, and I don't mean that in like a frantic way, but our dial is turned all the way up when it comes to sensitivity to emotions. And that's another reason why it can be very difficult and challenging if we haven't done that emotional work yet, the balancing, the feeling safe, you know? If we've dealt with some major traumas in our life, have we done that work, right? This is incredibly important to know, to feel safe, to be able to go into that darkness, right? To go into that shadow, to transmute those energies, to have the strength to do that, to have the awareness and the consciousness to do that, okay? All right. Asking now through the Psychic Tarot. They want me specifically to talk about integrating the shadow here. Fertility, the Empress, and power. They're giving me the analogy here, going back to the sacral chakra that we saw, with this fertility and with this power, coming back to our life force energy. So this is interesting. When you add 8 and 3, you get 11, which is the energy of, amongst many things, the energy of a portal, a gateway. And they're showing me that the shadow is a gateway to understanding more deeply your own life force energy. They're also, with this fertility card and the sacral chakra, along with power, because you see this man is half lion, half man, that we all have a quote unquote primitive side, but what they're showing me with that is there's a primal, ancient energy that lives within our bodies. When you think about, we are all descended, it's crazy. There's a lineage of all of the peoples that we are descended from here on earth, humanity as a collective, and how long that has been going on, the chain going all the way back, that lives in our bodies. Those primitive experiences live in our bodies. This is a primal energy it's not barbaric. This is not how they're showing it to me. It is a raw life force energy that lives within each and every one of us. It is in the psyche, it is in the unconscious, right? It's almost an energy we can't even articulate because it just is the way nature is. And the shadow, and understanding more deeply this aspect of ourselves with awareness and with consciousness and with love, is a gateway into moving into those energies and transmuting them into higher forms of consciousness. That is a lot. And healing. And look at that. 3 major arcanas for this. Destiny, which is the Wheel of Fortune. And they're saying it's all in our hands with this Destiny card. They're also showing with this Destiny card that this is a part of the evolution of humanity, the evolution of the collective. This kind of transformation in consciousness is part of the journey. It is inbuilt in us. But we have to be aware of it. We have to be conscious of it. And it can be the source of tremendous power. And when they say that, they do not mean power over anything. They mean the power that we have within each and every one of us. Tapped into our life force energy, the creative power within each and every one of us. The ability to channel that, the ability to control or manipulate this energy in a way that is of the highest forms of consciousness, okay? This is not about stifling anything, controlling over it, anything, having control over it, or damping it down, or bypassing it. It's not what this is about, right? This is about being very well aware. You could almost say, this is what they're showing me. They're saying, like, you could almost say that this is the light and the shadow side, and how you see that, whether it's the lion that's the light, or the shadow, or the man that's the light, that the shadow, that's entirely up to you, right? In terms of how you see this. But what they're showing here is a duality, right? An integration of a duality and an awareness of it. An awareness of it to come back into this unified field of consciousness, to come back into this middle way. Okay, I'm going to end it there. That's so cool. They're showing me, I'm going to just end on this note, the 8 and the 3, that adds up to 11, the 10, that is a 21, where we come full circle with the world card. Full integration is how they're showing me with these 3 energies that are coming through, okay? All right, just going to close out with these beautiful flecks of light here. As I catch the light in the darker pieces of this crystal. Thank you to the Venetian Galactic Council of Light for being here, for bringing through these messages. I thank you for being here, for sharing your time, your energy with me in this space. Thank you for being here with Spirit. I'm sending you so much love wherever you are, in love and liberation always.